And stick with us here on Thunder Live, because when Oklahoma City returns home, they welcome in the visiting Indiana Pacers into Paycom Center. It's the second meeting of the season between these two teams. We've got your scouting report when we come back right after this. Once again, our final score from downtown Milwaukee, 122-102. The Thunder wrapping up this road trip with a bang over the Bucks. So let's get you over to the press room so we can hear from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault postgame.
And the players have always used the term uncommon. I just wonder kind of what you witnessed tonight from the group last night of a long road trip, as shorthanded as you were, to have a wire-to-wire victory.
Yeah, I thought obviously it was a great effort all the way around. These last 6 games were all against playoff teams that we knew would test us. It was just going to give us a nice evaluation of where we are in the season and what we need to improve on. It's given us that feedback. It obviously gave us the unpredictability of the injuries because we were much healthier going into it. But the guys did a great job throughout this stretch, and certainly tonight. Against a tough cover on the road, to come out and perform the way we did with the consistency we did was really impressive.
One of those areas that was really consistent was the defensive glass. I mean, without your two biggest bodies, I think they only had 5 offensive rebounds. What did you see there from the group? Yeah,
I mean, it was a great defensive effort. It was great game plan execution. The plan tonight was a little different than it's something we've done before, but it's not common for us. I thought Dort on Giannis back-to-back games now, he's guarded Mitchell and Giannis, who are 2 very different covers, and it just shows his range defensively and his impact. I thought Chet behind those plays, we outscored them in the paint. To your point, we out-rebounded them and held them down on the offensive glass. I thought Chet had a lot to do with that, and then all the way across the line in terms of just the execution, the effort, and the focus for 48 minutes was really impressive.
AJ continues to show up game after game, but that first quarter especially, shots were going in, strong defense.
Yeah, he was great. He's been great all year. So we're unsurprised when he has a little burst like that. But he was great. He set the tone in the first quarter of the game, got it going on all 3 levels, continues to defend his position really well, and continues to play the right way and make the right passes. Even a couple of the turnovers were well-intentioned. He was trying to get the ball up to Chet on some rolls. And so he just continues to grow and progress. He's doing a great job.
Was it just a precautionary thing with the hip, AJ?
He was out for the rest of the game, but we'll check him out tomorrow.
Mark, to that end on AJ, like obviously Shai, in terms of consistency, being a constant is in another realm, but the sort of year AJ strung together, like has he developed into such a constant that you can kind of what I asked you before the game, that you can kind of throw him out there or sort of start throwing him out there with such vastly different groups? I mean, the lineup you threw him out there with in the first quarter was almost all bench guys.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously a really impactful player. I think one of the things that makes him uniquely a good fit for this team is he, to your point, can create and can carry a bit of a load offensively, and he can also adapt and play well off of other players, and for a young player that is emerging the way that he is, to be able to thread that needle offensively is very, very difficult to do. There's usually a tendency to be too passive or too aggressive in that situation, and he's just found a beautiful balance this season. So, he's done a great job. He's a huge part of what we're doing. He was great again tonight.
I imagine you've been asked this in market, but is there anything he learned after going down last year that sort of has maybe helped him become such a good compliment to Shai?
AJ? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, the injury last year, it allowed him to, first of all, work on his body a little bit because it didn't prevent him from hitting the weight room. He did a great job over the summer with that too. Having the miles underneath him when he got hurt, I think that always contextualizes what he's seeing or what a player is seeing when they're watching from the sidelines. And then in the playoffs, he had 2.5 months of practice reps. He was a circumstance away from being in the game. We threw him in a couple games anyways, but he was a couple events away from being like really in the game. And so he wasn't like a scout team player in the playoffs. He got all the preparation. We were constantly making sure that he was ready physically and mentally if his number was called. And I thought, that was probably a valuable experience for him too. So, like I said, he's made great strides and really grown. He's done a great job.
An exceptional way to round out this road trip for Oklahoma City that spanned 4 cities in 8 days. Now, you get a chance to go back to Oklahoma City, return home to Paycom Center, and when you do, you welcome in another Eastern Conference opponent. This time, the Indiana Pacers, who the Thunder last faced way back in October at the start of the season, a team that's been struggling this season, very different than who they were last year.
It is going to be nice to get to go home, but unfortunately, I think we're bringing Milwaukee's weather with us back to Oklahoma.
I think so.
It's about to get cold, but yeah, it's going to be fun to see the Pacers again. It's some familiarity there with them. It was a great game in Indianapolis, Paris. That second game of the season, double overtime game for the Thunder, a second straight overtime game for OKC to open the year. But the Thunder did a great job. Ajay Mitchell was a big part of that one down the stretch as well. And of course, SGA, as he so often does, slamming the door home as OKC pulled out a really tough earned victory against the Pacers.
Yeah, this was such a crazy game for the fact that it was the Thunder's second consecutive double overtime game to start the season. Very, very impressive stuff for OKC. But here's where the Pacers currently stand. They have the second worst record in the NBA, bottom of the league in terms of scoring and field goal percentage. But a guy that you have to look out for, of course, as always, Pascal Siakam when you talk about the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, and they played a little bit better lately. Of course, they've dealt with a lot of injuries throughout this season, and it's been difficult for them. But what you can always count on, like you said, you got Pascal Siakam, who's a very dynamic, unique type of player, ball in his hands a lot, kind of similar to Giannis in a lot of ways, that he's going to be the point of attack and set up players, loves to play in transition. But what you're going to see against Rick Carlisle is something a little unusual. The ball is going to move a little extra. He's going to try to get you into actions and really try to leverage things against you. So Rick Carlisle is a great NBA coach, always has a great game plan. Again, there's some familiarity there, but he's going to have something, I'm sure, up his sleeve for OKC.
Yeah, definitely going to try to bring a punch here to Oklahoma City in their second and final meeting of the season. The Indiana Pacers very well coached by head coach Rick Carlisle. Just a reminder, that's going to be a city night inside of Paycom Center on Friday. That game tips off at 7 p.m. Central Time, but tune in 30 minutes early to Thunder Live pregame. Me and Royce will get you covered at 6:30, get you everything you need to know as the Thunder squares off against the Pacers for the second time this season. But that wraps us up here on the road and inside of Fiserv Forum. What an exceptional performance we saw from Oklahoma City, taking down the Bucks by 20 points, taking care of business with a total team effort, everybody getting involved, and an incredible defensive performance. The Thunder finally, after 8 days, gets a chance to return home, and when they do, they welcome in the Pacers. Until then, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your night.